Good evening. Welcome to the May 8th, 2024 meeting of the Chappaqua Central School District Board of Education. The board has been in executive session since roughly 5 o'clock. Can I have a motion, please, to reopen the public meeting at 7:17 p.m.?
I move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. I'll start with the President's report. I want to start by acknowledging this evening that this is both Teacher Appreciation Week and also School Nurses Appreciation Week. We are so thankful for all of the work that you do every single day, not only to educate, but to care for our children. We know that they are in excellent hands when we send them to school each day. To our teachers, we know that you are stellar educators, and we thank you for the instruction you provide each and every day, but it's so much more than that. You help our kids find their paths and mentor them along them, and you care for them. As parents, that means the world. Speaking personally, our family dog died very suddenly yesterday, and I knew that I could send my heartbroken child into school today, and however the day went, she would be cared for, truly in loco parentis, and as a parent, that means everything. So thank you. And to our nurses, you are there for our kids and for us when our kids are hurt or feel ill. It's always so hard to know that your child is not okay when you're not physically there, but we know that our children are in wonderful hands until we can get to them. So most sincerely, on behalf of all of us, thank you. Two other very quick things. We met earlier today for a work session to discuss refining our process for vetting external speakers moving forward. I think we feel comfortable that we have a better understanding of what that process needs to look like as we look towards next year. Also, I wanted to let the community know that the policy committee will meet over the summer and look at our facilities use policies for non-CCSD programs to ensure that all CCSD students will be treated equally for programming that takes place in our spaces. That's really all that I have to share. I just want to note that under the President's report tonight, we have one item, which is 1.1.1, which is be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the Westchester Putnam School Boards Association proposed 2024-2025 budget and the nominating committee slate, and authorizes the board president to sign the West Putt annual meeting ballot. Just in case anybody in the community is not aware, West Putt is the, as it says, the Westchester Putnam School Boards Association. They're an entity that provides us with a lot of opportunities for training, for mentorship as school board members, as opportunities for professional growth and professional learning, and to provide a community for school board members in the Westchester Putnam area to work together to discuss issues that districts may be facing, and we find them to be an incredible resource, so we're happy to support them. I will move 1.1.1. Can I have a second?
A second.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Okay, I'll turn it to Dr. Ackerman.
Okay, so we are going to open up the budget hearing. This is a different procedure than just a regular budget presentation. So what will happen is Josh will present the condensed version of the budget, and then we will open up the public comment period only for matters related to the budget, following all the same open comment rules that we have in place for when we have regular open comment, and then we'll close it, and that'll be the end of the budget hearing. This is something that we are required to do by law, and it always happens after the budget's been adopted, and so we're going to transition over to Josh, who's going to go through our budget slides.
Hello, everybody. So today we're going to review the budget. So if first slide, our proposed budget has a 2.57% budget-to-budget increase with a tax levy increase of 2.99%. Here again, the budget is $141,856,238. The expenditure side, you could see that most of our budget, again, is comprised of salaries and benefits. You see an increase in O&M, an increase in our debt service. A lot of that is trade-off due to the transfer to capital and then the addition of the bond debt service that is coming on. And you can see the decrease in capital transfer for there. Again, the 2.57% budget to budget increase. On the revenue side, we see that we have a balanced budget showing the property tax increase of 2.99%. The thing to note here is that our state aid is increasing by 8.8%, mostly related to increases in reimbursements as well as building aid. And you see a large decrease in the use of fund balance for the upcoming budget. The projected tax rates for the equalization rate for Newcastle is 14.8% and Mount Pleasant is 1.13%. This is a shift from the previous year, which results in an approximate, right, these are estimated as of now, 3.4% increase for Newcastle and a 2.31% decrease for residents of the town of Mount Pleasant. If you want a good idea of what your taxes will be estimated at on our budget website, we have a tax estimator with instructions of how to plug in your assessed value, and it will put out what your estimated taxes are for next year, as well as the estimated increase. And you can see highlighted here that the median increase for Newcastle is from 23-24 to this budget proposal is $659 per year, and for Mount Pleasant will be a $480 per year decrease. Going over a little bit again of the tax increases, you could see that this budget is in line with our budget to budget increases that we have previously had over the course of the last 15 years, with the tax levy increase being a little bit higher, mostly due to that decreased use of fund balance. Here, just talking about our tax cap is at 1.81%. Mostly due to, again, the fact that our tax growth factor is 1.00%, which doesn't show additional growth in the tax base in the Chappaqua School District, which lowers that to one of the lowest tax levies that we've had in recent years due to the tax growth factor of 1.81%. Again, these are the calculations of how we arrive at our tax cap of 1.81%, which is basically the growth factor of 0. Because inflation is higher than 2%, there's that 2% growth factor, the 2% factor that's calculated onto that, adding in some debt service and some other exclusions, and we get our 1.81% tax cap. Just want to show some statistics as districts are adopting their budgets. Of our 13 peer districts in the Putnam-Westchester area, our 2.99% tax levy increase is below the 50th percentile for our 13 peer districts. And you can see on the right side there. There also are 4 districts within Westchester that have tax overrides. We're at the bottom of that list with 2.99%, and you can see the range of the other 3 districts from 3.9% to 6.91% increases. So again, I really just want to highlight that our tax levy limit is one of the large drivers that are causing us to have an over tax levy budget for this year. Here is our official budget notice that is published in the budget newsletter that you will receive within a few days. It shows the information about our adopted budget for 23-24, the proposed budget for 24-25, as well as what the contingency budget would entail should we go to one, which would be a slight decrease from 23-24 to the 24-25 contingency budget. Here's just some information. The main piece of this information, which is at the bottom of the tax notice, is that the estimated STAR exemption savings is the same as 23-24 of 1702. I'll go I'll talk about the rest. I have slides that have that information a little bit larger in the next slides. Just some information about the budget vote and what happens in other situations after the budget vote. So if the budget is approved on the 21st, then our budget is adopted. And that requires at least 60% of voter approval. If the budget is disapproved, the board has the option of immediately adopting the contingency budget, or has the option of putting up another vote in mid-June that's the same budget, a lower budget, or a higher budget. If that budget is then disapproved, the board is required to adopt the contingency budget. The contingency budget is about a $3.5 million reduction from the proposed 24-25 budget. Voter information. So the election, first to register to vote, email Lisa if you want to check your status. In order to be eligible to vote on the 21st, must be registered within the school district. And registrants must be U.S. citizens, residents of the school district for 30 days and at least 18 years of age. And again, if you have any questions, call Lisa Elsner or send her an email. So registrants can register for during any normal business hours up to the 16th, which is up to 5 days prior to the elections. And any applications for absentee ballots for 25, visit our website or contact Lisa. Christine, myself, and other members of the administration will be holding some Q&A sessions about our budget. On Wednesday, May 15th, we'll be at West Orchard at 9:30, Bell at 7 p.m. On Thursday, we'll be at Horace Greeley at 5 p.m. And then we will be at the Farmers Market on May 18th. We will send out a letter in the next couple of days, which will have some sign-up links for them and some more information about the discussions, and come with your questions. And we'll give a little bit of an overview of the budget at that time as well. And again, any other questions, please feel free to email us. Our email addresses are up there. And also please visit chappaqua.schools.org. At the top of it, there is a link for the budget. And again, voting is on May 21st here at Horace Greeley High School.
Okay, so now we're going to open, thank you, Josh. We are going to open up public comment. Comments are limited to the budget only and can be 3 minutes in length with the extension of an additional minute at the board's discretion. So if this is not a Q&A, it's just basically comments. If you have questions, you can certainly reach out to Josh or I outside of this meeting. So if there are any comments anyone would like to make on the budget during the hearing process, please come down to the microphone now and identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Barrett Flom. I'm a parent of a student in the district, and I would just like to ask the community to vote no on the proposed overtax cap budget. The fact that we are spending over $1 million for SROs rather than pausing, adding additional SROs to the budget after the arrest and resignation of the elementary school SRO is disturbing, especially since there is no evidence supporting that SROs decrease risk of harm to our students, and in fact, the evidence shows the opposite. Additionally, the security audit for the district did not recommend the addition of SROs. The use of our money should be spent on other things for our students. Our district loves to support our students and our schools, but we can vote no and get the right things for our students and our schools. Thank you.
Any other comments on the budget? Okay, that closes the hearing. So thank you, Josh. Are there any final comments from the board, or should we move forward with the superintendent's report, and then we're going to hear from the library team around their proposed budget for next school year?
I just want to clarify, make sure I understand. The dates you announced for community engagement around the budget may be held at our buildings, but they're open to all community members. It's not that they're for that school's communities, that it's just the space where they are being held. They are all open to anybody in the community who would like to attend.
That's correct. Thank you. All right, David, can you pull up my slides? Okay, so thank you, Josh. And so before we move into the library budget presentation, I did want to share with the community an update on our staff belonging survey, which is appropriate considering we're at Teacher Appreciation Week and Nurse Appreciation Week. And so what we have been doing over the course of the past 3 years is we have been surveying our students on their sense of belonging, and we also decided through our district equity team that it was important for us to survey our staff as well as have an understanding of the resources that they would like us to focus on in terms of professional development and supporting our students in our classroom around our SEL work. And so the survey for staff is similar to the students, just with different questions, and it focuses on belonging, well-being, cultural awareness, and action. And then we ask some background questions so we can do some analysis on who's responding. And then in addition to the district report, each building has a report that they are working through with their school-based equity teams and will be sharing with their staff next week in their meetings. But I do want to share with you that when we compare this year's survey with last year's survey, we saw an increase in a lot of our areas that our staff were reporting around certain indicators that we were asking about work. And so we had about 65% of our staff take the survey, 76%. So if we have two groups, we have our teachers and administrators and our teaching assistants. So they have one version of survey, and then our staff, our secretaries and custodians have a different version. So we had about 76% of our teaching staff, instructional staff respond, and about 32% of our custodians and non-instructional staff responding. And so I just want to show you that in terms of national averages, we are above or at national average in the way that our staff, specifically our instructional staff, responded to our belonging, well-being questions, along with our cultural awareness and action questions that are focused on themselves and then focused on their work with our kids. And we saw an increase in those areas. Well, it might be slight if you look at the overall performance. And then you can look at the subgroups. And you can see that 98% of our staff reported that they felt that their work mattered to them. 95% felt that the work is meaningful. 89% felt engaged. 87% felt excited at work. We have 57% of our staff feeling stressed, and so while there's a slight increase in some of these, those are things that we need to keep thinking about, the stress level of our staff who are working here. And then we saw increases in people feeling satisfied at their jobs, increases in effectiveness. We saw an increase of people feeling worried at work, so we have to think about that. We saw an increase in our staff feeling safe at work at 54%, and we saw an increase of our staff reporting that they were feeling happy at work. So some of these are trending in the right direction. We always continue to need to think about like stress levels and things that we can do in the environment to address some of that concern, and that'll be the work that's done by the building-based teams, and they'll share up with us some things that they're thinking about collectively through our group DET of some of the moves that they're making based on what they're hearing from their staff around stress. But I'm happy to share with you that we have a lot of staff feeling really good about working here, and I think that's important for the community to know. And so,
if that's done, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
The word worried, do we have kind of vague?
Yeah.
We try to dig down as teams talk to the people
Yeah,
at school
that's
what worried
yes.
about.
So part of that is, so that's part of the work. Like, what are you worried about? What is stressing you out, right? So those are questions, because they're different by building, because the needs are different of our kids. And so those are things that the building-based team will tease out with their staff as we plan forward. I also want to share with you on the agenda, there are two important agreements with the teachers union for your consideration. The first is an SMOA to form a K through 12 staff administrative group of our team to work on the strategic plan over 2 years, because we have some big decisions that need to be made. And so we felt like it was important for us to have a working group so that we collectively talk about those decisions together. And then the second is to continue our district equity team, because we're at the end of a 2-year cycle. And so moving forward, that team is actually going to add parents to that committee. And so we're going to talk with our new district equity team when we have that in place, how to start facilitating parent participation, because that is the next layer of this work as outlined in our strategic
Christine,
plan. Yes?
can I ask you about the survey results? Are they drilled down for you all by building? So you can see if a given building is feeling more stressed and worried versus another?
Yes. And so what the building team will do, because they all have their individual building results, is they will process that out with their school-based equity team and their larger staff, and that they're planning to do that next Tuesday during their faculty meetings. And we did that last year as well, and
Great.
it's helped. And so I think we've seen some improvements over how our staff is responding to that survey based on some of the decisions that the SETs and the DET made in response to the survey.
Great,
So it's
thanks.
it's a good model for us to follow. And any other questions about that? Okay, so then Adam, do you want to talk about the CSF Instagram on the agenda?
Yeah, so the CSF generously funded a hydroponics room over at Grafflin, and it's been such a success. It's amazing how much like vegetation they're growing, plants, herbs, edibles, and they actually put in an additional grant, Linda Bosco and Deb Allspa, for $1,100 to get an additional tower. Right now, they have one of their towers completely full, filled up with strawberries, and so strawberries take a while to produce strawberries, and so they'd like to grow some greens in an additional tower. So we thank the CSF for that, and that'll be over at the Grafflin Hydroponics Center.
Thank you. And so I just want to remind everyone, I know Josh had shared this earlier, but our budget vote is Tuesday, May 21st, and then there'll be opportunities to meet with Josh and I during the week, and then we'll have our team at the farmers market. So if anyone has any questions that they want to talk about, it doesn't even have to be related to the budget. We welcome those conversations. I know I did parent coffees last week. They were during the day. This is an opportunity for parents who couldn't make those coffees. If they have other issues they want to talk about as well, they can certainly bring those forward, and we can have those discussions at these moments as well. And so we have a bunch of events between now and the next board meeting. We have concerts. We're getting ready to transition our new students to the middle school. We have our performances. Relay for Life is on the 18th. We have a big art festival happening here. We have a chorus concert. So we look forward to, we're starting to celebrate the end of the year, so it's getting exciting for us. And so we look forward to all these culminating activities for our students. And so we hope our parents can attend. And so that is the end of the superintendent's report. So now I'd like to invite Jennifer up, our director of the Chappaqua Library, who will present an overview of the library budget, and she's going to take Jamie's seat. Can we give Jennifer a round of applause? Welcome.
The mic is on. Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jennifer Daddio. I am the newish director at the Chappaqua Library. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the school district for allowing me to be here tonight and present our proposed budget for the 24-25 school year on behalf of myself and the Library Board of Trustees. So our first slide is our revenue slide. So for the school district tax levy, we're asking for a 2% increase, which is $72,765. A couple of other things to note on this slide is that last year we took about $101,000 from our fund balance. We are not going to need to do that this year, so that line goes down by 100%. And then under our investment income, our investment income this year has done better than we anticipated. So next year we have allotted $35,000 in investment income as opposed to the $8,000 this year. But overall, our revenues will be down 0.1%, which equals $4,986. Our next slide is the first expenditure slide. This is related to personnel costs, which is our largest expenditure for the library. So for personnel, our salaries will be increased by 1%, which equals overall $2,025. But our benefits line has gone down. And so this overall page is reduced by 0.2% or $6,455. Our next expenditures line is related to materials and our operating costs. You'll see that there's about an $11,000 increase for materials, and that directly correlates to the cost of things such as books, DVDs, magazines, and other items that the library holds in their collections. But under the operating expenses, many of these lines have stayed the same or gone down, particularly professional fees, which there's been a $35,000 decrease in that line. I do want to point out that under equipment maintenance, we've increased that line $8,000 from $15,000 to $23,000 because we have needed to pay more attention to some of the systems in the building that are starting to age and eventually will fail. So we've spent some more money on that this year than we expected. And so what that indicates for us as a team is to assess all of the systems in the building and make sure that, they're all going to be functioning as they should and what will need to be addressed in the future and at what point they will be needing to be addressed. But again, overall, the expenditures on this page are down 0.14% or, forgive me, I can't read that last line. I want to say it's 4986, down from last year. And as far as the impact on taxpayers, for Newcastle residents, the increase for the tax rate per $1,000 will go from $3.51 to $3.59. And for folks who live in Mount Pleasant, there'll actually be a reduction of $1.57 per $1,000. So that number will go from $48.60 to $47.03. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I would just like to say thank you again to everybody here, as well as everybody in the community who have supported us in the past. So, thank you. Oh, so sweet. Any questions? Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, and that's the end of the superintendent's report, plus the library budget.
Okay,
So,
great.
Thank you,
Well,
Jennifer.
On our end, that brings us to our committee reports. Melissa?
So we had our final Wellness Committee meeting on the 6th, and we just wrapped up the year, basically. We reviewed the survey we had done about the food offerings at 7B and Bell. We reviewed the physical tour that we'd taken at both schools to go over the the physical areas at both schools to talk about them vis-a-vis the survey. And then we talked about next steps, what we were going to do, moving forward and for looking towards next year. We're basically in the brainstorming process about what to do about Bell. It clearly needs some more space for the food prep and service. We don't exactly know how we're going to do that yet, but we do plan on meeting with an architect to get some ideas to see what we can do with our space as it exists now and how we could tweak it. We also, moving forward, talked about snacks at the elementary school level and mental health at the high school level. We are going to have a new advisory program in the high school next year, so we're hoping to add in some more mental health elements to that program and to give the kids in our most stressful building probably a little more support in the mental health. And we also are planning on bringing food tastings back for the fall. So that's where we are with wellness.
So the innovation team as you know, we've been thinking about how we might redesign some classrooms for our business and finance students and faculty, and we conducted, with Adam's leadership and a whole team of folks, some site visits to our sort of preferred architect to see what their work looked like at, I don't know, how many facilities did we go to, Adam? 4 different sites. I was able to go to one of them myself. It was terrific to see their work in person and also just talk to the people who collaborated with this architect, since it would be a new team for us. And all signs are looking good, and we're looking forward to proceeding with them.
Okay, that brings us to the public comment period. We already had the budget hearing on the budget, but this brings us to our general public comment period. We welcome public comments, and in respect for each other's time, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Board members may also be contacted via email or phone. After the public comment period has been completed, board members may have a discussion amongst themselves regarding comments presented. And as always, I remind everybody that there should be no personally identifiable information, please, in public comment. So if you'd like to make a comment, please come down to the microphone. Okay. Then that moves us on to approvals and ratifications. We only have one under the 3s, so I will move 3.1, which is accepting the minutes of the April 18th Board of Education meeting. Could I please have a second?
I second.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
I recommend 4.1 instructional as presented.
I can recommend we take 4.1 as presented.
I will second that. Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
I recommend 4.2 non-instructional as presented.
I will move that we accept Dr. Ackerman's recommendations under 4.2 as presented. Second. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issues. So as a preliminary matter, is there anything that anybody would like to remove from tonight's consent agenda? Nope, okay. Then tonight we are looking at 5.1 through 5.20, which involves a number of contracts. The CSE reports as always. There are some BOCES related contracts that enable us to consolidate with other school districts and save some money. Some things around the budget and sending out information to the community. The SMOAs that Dr. Ackerman mentioned and the CSF grants, as well as a number of other relatively routine matters. I will move the consent agenda, which is 5.1 through, I just said it, 5.20. Okay. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Can I have a motion, please, to take 6.1 through 6.3 together, which are acknowledging contracts previously approved by the superintendent under Board Policy 6085?
Move that.
Second. Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
7.1 is a change order. Again, we're acknowledging a change order previously approved by Dr. Ackerman. And I will move 7.1, acknowledging that change order. Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Okay, then can I have a motion, please, for 8.1, which is acknowledging receipt of the claims auditor report for March of '24? Questions or concerns? All in favor? Okay. Great, that brings us to notice of future meetings. Our next meeting is actually the budget vote and election, which will be held May 21st, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Just a note, those of you here probably know, those of you watching at home, if you do not know, all voting is here. This is not your general election polling places. All voting for this school board election and budget vote is in the Horace Greeley gym. Come here, don't go anywhere else. Then our next meeting after that is Wednesday, May 22nd, which is the next night at 7 p.m., which is our tenured teacher recognition, which is always a lovely event. We're so excited to celebrate our teachers who will be getting tenure this year. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please, at 7:51 p.m.? All in favor? Okay, we are adjourned.